Assalamu alaikum. This is lecture 9. Our course is work team building, management, business administration department, level 4, faculty of commerce, Zagazig University. عماد أمحاوي معاكم lecturing this second half of chapter 3. Chapter 3 is about project manager. In lecture 8 we introduced the first half of the chapter. We introduced the first tasks a project manager does actually before even the project is launched and approved. We gave a contrast, a comparison between project manager and functional manager, the main responsibilities of project manager, career path, how it looks like, and we stopped here in the halfway of introducing 6 special demands on project manager, if you remember that. Let's go directly to these 6 demands: acquiring adequate resources, acquiring and motivating personnel, dealing with obstacles, making project goals, trade-offs. And in project trade-offs we showed these differences in the text. In general, the common assumption is that performance leads in the formation stage, while build-up stage cost leads. They become most important يعني in the end of the project, maybe the schedule lead. However, the question now, is this logical? Yes, logical. If this is the truth, no. In research, they found that all of them are important in the first stage, the formation stage. Build-up stage, we find schedule come first. This is surprising actually for me. And in the main stage, we have performance schedule leading, while cost come last. You see, always cost come last in the most of the 3 of the 4 stages, and come first performance. We are still talking about trade-offs. Other trade-offs, طبعا trade-offs may come between technical and managerial tasks assigned to team member. يعني some team member may be مفروض responsible for technical stuff, and you in some situations you find yourself giving him or her managerial ones. You know, in a project life this happens repeatedly. Like in functional department, it doesn't happen like this. يعني usually people say that I will do only whatever is written in my job description. I will not do something else. Like in projects, you don't really have a job description, right? So you usually cooperate, you do whatever is required. You have this goal orientation, problem solving orientation in projects. Yeah, this is the spirit that people always share in projects. Trade-offs may happen between multiple projects. Organizations' goal and project goals, they may come on some goals project in order to finish some goals of the organization, and so on. Trade-offs between project, firm, and career path. So trade-offs is one of the important aspect of projects, and also as well one of the demands that the project manager need to deal with. This is number dealing with failure. Let's go back and see what number is this. This is number 5. Number 5, dealing with failures and risk, and failures, risk, and fear of failure. A big difficulty in project is that you always get the feeling that it will fail, too much risk. It always starts from the very beginning. In the early stages, you will get the feeling that it will fail because budgets are always cut from the very beginning. Sometimes the failure come to you, or the sense of failure, or working in a risky project because you don't understand exactly what is required. When you go on, you go to the build-up stage or the main stage, you will find that clients demands more what is have been asked in the very beginning. Problems appear from the beginning, come from inability to define the mission, to plan and implement, and you, as a project manager, you need to deal with psychic problems. People get anxious when they finish the project. What are they gonna do when they finish? Will they go back? How come they will go back to their departments while they lost a lot of time with them, and so on. Yeah. The last point we have in this part of the chapter that talks about 6 demands on project managers, about they really need to have good communication and widespread one, or a breadth of communication, as it's labeled here in the chapter. Project managers are the linking pins with the stakeholders of the project. Stakeholders any معني يعني أي حد معني بالمشروع. To do this, they have to understand, always be ready, explain. You know, this is one important point. And every now and then, every single minute, you need to remind people that this is what we do, why this is important. You have to explain a lot why the project is important, why what you do is important. And what are the success and failure criteria. So you need communication for this. You need to communicate with top managers in order to get support. You need to talk to the client. You need to talk to the team members as well, repeatedly every day. So in the end, you need to have solid information network, flexible in making decision, especially in trade-offs. So PMs should be good negotiators to fulfill all the 6 demands we talked about. Actually, 6 demands دي مهمة جدا. Very important to understand what project managers do in projects. How do we select project manager? طبعا يعني الفيتشرز، الاتريبيوتس، التريتس بتاعتهم كل حاجة حلوة طبعا. They should be technically good, good technical background. hard nosed manager. hard nosed هنا يعني جدعان، رجالة بيتخانقوا يعني وقت اللزوم they fight, they struggle, stand against any problems. hard nosed. mature individual. mature هنا معناها ان انت you are emotionally stable، يعني ما بتزعلش قوي، يعني you don't get carried away whenever bad things happen. You can hold your horses, as they say. Someone who is currently available, right? You don't hide. Whenever we call you, you respond, you reply on the phone, right? So you are available always. Someone on good terms with senior executives. He or she deals with top managers in a good way. A person who can keep the project's team happy. He's a nice person, actually, a nice guy, as they call it in the States. One who has worked in several different departments, so he has this cross-functional background. A person who can walk on or part the water. This is صعبة شوية يعني means that you can deal with difficulties. Still talking about selecting the project manager. Well, all the previous ones are enough. طبعا احنا in our textbook احنا we are summarizing things that have been found in research studies. So these 6 or these how many 8 ones come from a research study. Well, this enough? No, some other research studies say that let's summarize them into 4 categories of requirements. Be credible, sensitive, have leadership and management skills, ability to handle stress. Credibility معناها ان انت you are good in whatever you are doing. It's another way to say these 8 things actually. So credibility means that you are trustworthy and you are good in whatever you are doing. Technical credibility and administrative ones. You have base knowledge technically, all the stakeholders know that ability to explain technical stuff, and from the administrative capability. انت you know الحرفة الإدارية، يعني انت you know how people work, how can you make a schedule, how can you make a plan, and so on. This is what is called هنا administrative credibility. Sensitivity means that you are politically sensitive. يعني انت you can deal with people, their demands, you can deal with power, you can deal with shilal, you can deal with impacts. This is what's called political sensitivity. Conflict as well, you will live with conflicts. So how can you sense conflicts? How can you capitalize on them, يعني use these conflicts for the benefit of the project. This is one of the types of sensitivity. Failure sensitivity, whenever you fail, you don't hide this, you use failure in order to success in the next time or next trial or next step in your project. احنا قلنا credibility and then sensitivity. Number 3, leadership and management. And you are level 4 now, and you know leadership. Leadership is all about influence, impacting people, making people believe you, and يعني make people do what is required. So leadership requires lots of social skills, being able to present, being able to explain, and so on. We had a whole chapter about leadership actually. So this is it comes here as well. We are recapping that. Nothing more I have in this slide actually. Let's go to the next one. Ability to handle stress. You will live in a lot of stress. Big part of stress you have come from the fact that you will have too much on your plate. يعني الطبق بتاعك مليان. يعني you have too many activities you need to deal with. How in such circumstances يعني تبقى مزنوق ومخنوق و have you a lots of things, and maybe you are frustrated and stuff, and then you find a way. You get things together. Okay, keep your parts together, and being able to write a road map or a way to finish everything. يعني you be consistent, you have procedures to manage work while you have too many things you need to do. You have to achieve a lot. You may get frustrated. So this is the point that or ability you need to have to deal with the stress. That was the skills, or how can we select a project manager. A second point we have in our chapter here is or the last one we have in our chapter is that whenever you have a big project that has different groups of people, right, and those groups of people, they have different cultures. يعني معاك ناس من from Upper Egypt صعيدة مع ناس from اسمه ده من القاهرة وناس من الإسكندرية. So you may get the situation where different people come from different places, or you may work in a multinational company and you have a project that have team members from different countries. So come from different environment, maybe different industries, so they have different programming of mind. They think in different way. They explain things differently. Here in our chapter we consider 4 things in our culture: technology, what tools different people use to do things, institutions, the structure and organization of people. In some cultures, people would like to work in some structured way, some rigid routine, top level, lower level, and stuff. And some other culture, people don't like that. They like to work in equal footing situation. Yani all people are the same. No difference between managers and subordinates. This is what's called here by institutions. Language. How language make differences in culture. You will find they always call it language is the carrier of culture. words and sentences, and how we form, we deliver meaning, is the carrier of culture. So how language make differences in culture, how people communicate. Art also as well, here an important part of culture that is related to aesthetic value, الذوق يعني, the sense of beauty in a group of people. So this is what culture is, aspects is recommended in our textbook. So in this slide, the textbook suggests that whenever you have multicultural situations like this, a big project that have people from different countries, and this is multicultural one, you need to understand how values, or what values are appreciated or adopted by people from different countries. People from Egypt, they may, for example, appreciate or adopt cultures of being friendly, being polite, while people come from Germany maybe appreciate more or adopt more being disciplined. States or American people, they are time conscious, for example, or whatever it may differ from one country to another. Also, how differences in industries, people come from sales, which is called in a microculture. Sales, they may appreciate, for example, achievement, being achievement oriented, because they work on targets دائما, they get their commissions عمولة on achieving targets. They maybe have this value, while people in accounting department, they appreciate more numbers and violations of standards and rules, and conspiracy and theft and stuff like this, and money. So they may conflict such people together. Also as well, the environment shape the culture of the organization. So project manager should consider these different aspects of the organization environment to understand how this institution is shaped by these environments. ففي هنا one aspect هو socio-economic environment. If you're working in this country, so they have these types of governmental interventions, they have this way of dealing with such economic problem and social problems. Also, what laws affect business, this is the legal environment, the business cycle environment, the ups and downs in the industry, technological environment as well. All this affect and shape the institution culture in general. Communication, how people differ in delivering and sending meanings. This is what is meant by communication. In some cultures, people need to be reminded, things should be repeated more and more in order to get the meaning, while in one other environment, you may not need this, or in other culture, you may not need this. Some cultures, you need to talk face to face. In others, it's enough for texting or sending. Some other culture, you need to write something written in order to be formal. So how do subordinates in the host country regard project manager and senior managers, management style, centralized or decentralized? This is structure of style and style of communications, and affect communication between project managers and team members. So how people coming from different countries deal with such things. The last thing we have here is multicultural communications and managerial behavior. It's probably one of the most important slides we have here in this chapter. It summarizes how cultures differ in relation to managerial behavior from one country to another. This list of items shows important differences we need to understand in managerial behavior and how it's related to culture. يعني in different countries how communication differ in work. Some cultures prefer formal than informal, right? And what degree do we have in formal part and informal part? A degree of planning before beginning a project. In some culture you need to be very certain and everything should be organized and planned and written. In some others you work in some you prefer not to be that disciplined and organized. You don't believe actually in planning. In some cultures and some organizations you came from, attitude toward work ethics, level of resistance to change, long or short term orientations. People differ from one institution to another and from one country to another. Authoritarian or participative style. This is centralized or decentralized one. This is dictatorship and democratic one. Provide physical and psychological support for team members transferred to host country. How that differ from one culture of one people come from one country to another or from one institution to another. Managerial behavior differ in terms of culture because of differences in culture of different people coming from different institutions and different countries. And this list is important one that shows aspects of cultures that need to be examined in order to be able to deal with conflicts between cultures in big projects that have multicultural situations. That is the end of chapter 3, lecture 9. Inshallah, next lecture we will start a new chapter. Thank you.